Hey, it's a good girl.
Oh,
Is that the one that was, yeah.
lurker today.
Yeah, there should be 5 of them lurking around here. My name is Helena, and this is Tigra, my dog, 11-year-old, and I've had her for, I guess, about 9.5 years. And she's a pit bull. Now, with this legislation, I can't take her to a park. I can't take her anywhere where there are other dogs. We've been sort of programmed to fear them. Basically, that's her. That's the way she is. She's just very friendly and she loves people to death, but she wants all the attention.
Breed-specific legislation just punishes the look of a dog. If you're going to do that, it's like racial profiling. It's no different. It really isn't. If you look at you're basically deeming something by the way it looks on the outside.
Dogs, they're wonderful, resilient creatures who are living in an alien culture. We have asked them to live among us and to understand our rules and to behave appropriately for us. And in a lot of ways, we're failing them because we're not teaching them the right way to do that. And we're forgetting that they're dogs, and we're forgetting that they see the world differently than we do, and we're doing them a disservice by denying them that ability to just be animals.
The dogs, commonly known as pit bulls, have had nothing but bad press in the last 20 years. Today, it's a general assumption that they are inherently vicious and will attack without provocation. But if that were true, would the little rascals have included one in their crew? Not to mention that in World War I, they were proudly known as America's dignified national dog.
They used to be called the nanny dog in Britain. They were considered the best family dog because they were such a calm, even temperament. A lot of them do therapy work for that very reason.
I think really one of the things I love about them is their best trait. It's also their worst. They will do whatever it is it takes to please the owner. And if you've got a good owner, you're going to get a good dog. If you've got a bad owner, you're going to get a bad dog.
Unfortunately, a dog that people would get as a status symbol or to protect their stuff, or I don't know, to make them seem more macho. And I think people are afraid of them.
Thanks to the slew of irresponsible ownership and extensive media hype, the 3 breeds that are labeled under the term pit bull have been completely banned from many parts of the Western world since 1990. This is still negatively affecting responsible dog owners today.
Breed-specific legislation is a fairly new phenomenon, and it's recent. There are animal rights groups that are using this as the thin edge of the wedge to achieve their agenda of eliminating pet ownership. If they can go after a specific group of dog, because we know that there's no such thing as a pit bull, but a pit bull makes easy headlines.
In 2004, when the province of Ontario, Canada, set their current breed-specific legislation, it was the first North American state or province to completely ban the dogs. It states that all dogs in the pit bull breeds or resembling a pit bull must be immediately spayed or neutered, muzzled, and leashed in public areas. There can also be no breeding or importing of the dogs.
So technically, walking from my house to my truck with Ringo on a leash, as you can see, would be illegal because he doesn't have a muzzle on.
But I don't think it should be just pit bulls. There are a lot of other dogs that should be muzzled too. And the ones that have taken the time to train their dogs, and it's not fair to them.
Italy began their breed ban with 11 dogs. They now have over 120 on the list.
The Queen will not go to Italy because she cannot bring her Welsh Corgis with her because they're restricted.
So long as the public has an idea in their head of friendly dogs and unfriendly dogs, we're going to have dog bites. The most terrifying dog that I ever worked with was a golden retriever. He put 12 puncture wounds in my hand, and he's left me with permanent scars and mobility issues. So any dog can bite. All dogs can bite given the right circumstances. There have been 30 different breeds of dogs who have killed, including Pomeranians and Cocker Spaniels. So clearly focusing on a breed when really what you're talking about is behavior and safety it's the wrong way to go. It's a false premise.
Though one of the primary goals of the legislation was to reduce the number of dog bite-related injuries, the bylaws resulted in the opposite effect. When Kitchener, Ontario introduced the pit bull ban in 1996, they had on average 500 dog bites a year. In 2004, 8 years later, they still had on average 500 bites per year, even though they didn't have any pit bulls in their community. In the UK, hospitalization from dog bites increased by 25% after the country completely banned pit bulls.
I had a Jack Russell. I was walking on the street, and a Jack Russell ran away, got out of the gate, came up to her and started showing his teeth and jumping up at her mouth. So I lifted her up, and the guy says, "You should have a muzzle on that dog." And she didn't do anything. It was his dog going crazy, ran on the street and everything, but he said, because she's a pit bull, right? And that, I told him he should have more control of his dog, I guess. And he says, "Well, you should have a muzzle on your dog so that his dog can bite mine, right?" But I get that all the time. I'm used to it.
Friday and I were walking through the mall one day, and some men started yelling, "That's a pit bull, get out of here."
I had a woman stop on the other side of the street and scream at me that I was a child abuser because I had my dog next to my child in a stroller. I have friends that have been followed home that have been threatened with guns to have their dogs shot.
I've had people tell me, I can't believe you own that breed of dog, or someone threw a rock at her once.
We had the phone tapped for probably a good 6 months. We had, best as I can ascertain, an RCMP helicopter over the dog yard. Scared the daylights out of my kids. I mean, animal control doesn't want to listen. Your municipality doesn't want to listen. Well, you know what? It matters to somebody, because if you get threatened on a daily basis, just for walking your dog, there's a problem.
I think it's easy to vilify a dog and move responsibility away from humans. But we've bred these dogs. We've made them into what they are. So I think putting the onus on the owner is the way to go, and not the dogs.